Chapter 451. Although the princess of the neighboring country enrolled in the Pinnacle World Academy, she had very good feelings for her sisters in the Great World Academy. What? Not convinced? The woman said coldly, if you are a student of the Pinnacle World Academy, then don't mix with this rabble of cats and dogs. You're disgracing the Pinnacle World Academy. The woman's name was Huang Fufeng. She hailed from the Tiger Roar sect and was conferred the title of princess in the Tiger Roar country. Huang Fufeng's talent was not bad. She was naturally born with imperial fate. And her ancestor was a golden sedan great demon, so she possessed the very rare golden sedan physique among acquired Saint Avian physiques. Huang Fufeng was already a marquis. Though not the pinnacle or the most outstanding young person, she was very excellent. The neighboring country's princess was furious. You. The princess stood up abruptly, glaring at Huang Fufeng. The people following Huang Fufeng were all from great sects and powerful nations. A young man coldly warned. Miss Zhu, don't make a mistake. Do you want to become enemies with the Tiger Roar sect? Huang Fufeng ignored the neighboring country's princess. She glared at Qi Xiaodia. Qi Xiaodia, you'd better control your little brother, or you won't know how he dies. Don't overestimate yourselves. Be careful, or your Lion's Roar country will invite a disaster upon yourselves. Huang Fufeng was the princess of the Tiger Roar country. She and Hu were fellow disciples. Qi Xiaodao pursuing Princess Baoyun might very well make her Hu Yu's fiancée. Huang Fufeng couldn't swallow this anger. She was defending her senior disciple, Hu Yu. Huang Fufeng's blatant threat made Qi Xiaodia's face change. The Tiger Roar sect was indeed powerful, but Huang Fufeng's brazen threat was unbearable. The young women glared at Huang Fufeng, feeling indignant for Qi Xiaodia. I will protect Qi Xiaodao. At this moment, a lazy voice rang out. His pursuing Princess Baoyun is nothing great. The man is unmarried, and the woman is unwed. It's a matter of mutual affection. Princess Baoyun hasn't married into your Tiger Roar sect yet, so why is your Tiger Roar sect making such a fuss? The person who spoke was Li Qiye. He didn't even look at Huang Fufeng. He continued. If you run here to threaten the people around me, then send my message back. If the Tiger Roar sect knows what's good for them, they should tuck their tail between their legs. If the little girl Baoyun willingly follows little Dao, how is that any of your Tiger Roar sect's business? If Hu Yu is the type of narrow-minded person who wants to separate this little couple, I will personally pluck out Hu Yu's tendons. Li Qiye's extremely arrogant declaration made Huang Fufeng and the people with her change their expressions. Huang Fufeng coldly glanced at Li Qiye, completely disregarding him. Huang Fufeng commanded. Beat this brat to death. Beat him until he's dead. This princess will personally deal with Qi Xiaodia. An ignorant fool. A young man beside Huang Fufeng reached out to grab Li Qiye. His 5 fingers were as sharp as blades, stinging the face. Li Qiye stood up. Scram. Li Qiye pushed his hand out. Boom. Before the young man knew what happened, he was struck and sent flying by Li Qiye. Li Qiye rushed toward Huang Fufeng like lightning. Huang Fufeng cried out in surprise. Courting death. Huang Fufeng swung her blade to strike. Her combat blade was extremely sharp. Even a cultivator with an imperial physique couldn't withstand it. Smash. Li Qiye calmly swung his hand and slammed it down hard. The combat blade shattered. Huang Fufeng was struck and sent flying, coughing up blood. She had been too careless, thinking one strike would easily kill Li Qiye. She never expected to be sent flying by him. Huang Fufeng, coughing up blood, hadn't even landed when Li Qiye moved so fast that people couldn't see clearly. He flickered and grabbed Huang Fufeng's neck, pinning her against the wall. Huang Fufeng was gripped by Li Qiye's neck, dangling like a white crane. Her pale neck was completely in Li Qiye's hand, unable to be nobly raised any longer. The young men and women following Huang Fufeng cried out in shock. You dare! But they feared causing harm to Huang Fufeng. As she was being strangled by Li Qiye, the group dared not rush forward. Li Qiye didn't even look at them. He stared straight at Huang Fufeng and said calmly, "A mere marquis dares to show off in front of me. The blood of marquises sticking to my hands is more than the water you have drunk." Huang Fufeng was terrified. I am the princess of the Tiger Roar sect. If you dare kill me, the Tiger Roar sect will absolutely not spare you. Li Qiye's indifferent gaze terrified Huang Fufeng, as if killing her was as easy as crushing an insignificant ant. At this moment, a clear, melodious voice rang out. Has the Tiger Roar sect begun to dominate the eastern 100 cities? A person stood at the stair entrance, dressed in male attire, possessing peerless grace. Young Palace Master Bing. The group of young men and women following Huang Fufeng's expression changed when they saw the woman, and they took a step back. The woman who suddenly appeared was none other than Bing Yuxia. Bing Yuxia stood there leisurely, folding her fan. She walked closer and looked at Huang Fufeng. The Tiger Roar sect can scare children, but if you want to scare brotherly, you need to bring out the flying immortal sect at least. Looking at Bing Yuxia, Qi Xiaodia's sisters were stunned. Bing Yuxia, the successor of the Ice Feather Palace. Bing Yuxia was the successor of an emperor lineage immortal gate. A high and mighty figure in the eyes of small sects. Li Qiye calmly followed up on Bing Yuxia's words. The flying immortal sect is nothing great either. Li Qiye tossed Huang Fufeng aside like trash. Li Qiye didn't even look at Huang Fufeng. Scram. My mood is good today, I don't want to kill you. If you dare appear in front of me again, although I don't like killing women, I will personally kill you. Huang Fufeng's face was pale. She and the others scrambled up and ran away, not daring to stay for even a second longer. Huang Fufeng was scared to death. The young women sat frozen. Just a moment ago, they were teasing Li Qiye, feeling he was a harmless young boy younger than them. But in an instant, the harmless young boy transformed into a true powerhouse. A marquis in Li Qiye's hands was like a baby chicken. The sudden change left them unable to regain their composure, staring at him blankly. Li Qiye looked at the young women, shook his head, and said resignedly, "Our time for pleasant play has been ruined by something so dull and vulgar." The young women snapped back to reality. They looked at Li Qiye, then at each other, speechless. "Oh, you refuse to let me play matchmaker for you. So, Brother Li has this hobby, creating a large harem, keeping a beautiful concubine." Bing Yuxia looked at the men sitting at the table, smiling like a refined playboy. "Brother Li, as the saying goes, good wine is excellent, but don't be too addicted to it. Raising so many young women alone. Can you handle it?" Slap. Li Qiye slapped Bing Yuxia's protruding rear. Bing Yuxia was startled by Li Qiye's surprise attack. She jumped up and quickly retreated. "What are you doing?" The young women were speechless. This was the successor of the Ice Feather Palace, one of the strongest young women in the eastern 100 cities. Li Qiye dared to slap her behind. Dared to grope her. It was unbelievable. Li Qiye glanced calmly at Bing Yuxia and said composedly, "Stop acting like a man when you're not one. You're a young lady. Be careful, or I'll strip you naked one day. You dare." Bing Yuxia placed her hands on her hips, puffing out her chest. She glared fiercely at Li Qiye. Li Qiye gave a wry smile, shook his head, and said to the young women, "Older sisters, continue to enjoy yourselves. This little brother must excuse himself." Li Qiye turned and left. Li Qiye reached the door and said without turning back, "Let's go. Do you want to stay?" Li Qiye was speaking to Bing Yuxia. Bing Yuxia laughed. She spread her fan, adopting the graceful posture of a young master. Bing Yuxia cupped her hands toward the young women and smiled. "Young ladies, I will be taking my leave first." Bing Yuxia left. After Li Qiye and Bing Yuxia left, the dozens of young women sitting there still couldn't recover their composure, surprised and bewildered. After a long while, the young women snapped back to reality. The princess of the neighboring country asked Xiaodia. Little Dai, he's not your cousin. Xiaodia smiled bitterly and said. Did I ever say he was? The young women clamored to ask Xiaodia. Your Highness Qi, who is he? What is his background? He didn't even put the tiger roar sect in his eyes. He must hail from an emperor lineage immortal gate. Xiaodia secretly sighed. It wasn't just the tiger roar sect. Few existences could truly catch Li Qiye's eye. A mischievous young woman said. Little Dai, you are often with him. Is he your fiancé? The two of you are together all day. Perhaps you have already. Xiaodia's face flushed red. She shouted softly. Don't talk nonsense. It wouldn't be good if someone heard. Xiaodia sighed softly in her heart, feeling a touch of melancholy. Which woman in the current era could truly manage Li Qiye? Li Qiye returned to his courtyard on the mountain in the Great World Academy. Bing Yuxia followed him. She was alone, without any beauties accompanying her. It's rare to see you without any young women accompanying you. Li Qiye sat down and glanced at Bing Yuxia. Speak your mind. Say whatever you need to say. Don't beat around the bush. Bing Yuxia was direct. Shall we cooperate? Bing Yuxia coming alone was not just for fun. She had something she needed to discuss with Li Qiye. Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and said. Cooperate. Cooperate on what? Li Qiye thought Bing Yuxia was referring to the heavenly cut steel. Bing Yuxia stared intently at Li Qiye and said. You didn't enter the Great World Academy by chance, did you? Are you not here for the Heavenly Tao Academy's Void Gate? Li Qiye looked at the young woman before him. Her demeanor and style resembled the Ice Feather Immortal Emperor of the past. Li Qiye shook his head and laughed. The Void Gate is always a legend. No one in this world knows if it is real or fake. Talking about the Void Gate now, don't you think it's a bit too early? If the Void Gate were merely a legend, would you be present here? Bing Yuxia was not the type to put on airs. Her ability to become the successor of the Ice Feather Palace showed she was truly formidable. I am slightly interested now. Li Qiye smiled and asked, the Heavenly Tao Academy has so many people. Why single me out? Surely it's not because I am too handsome. Bing Yuxia laughed. Her male disguise made her look 1/3 bright and 7/10 gentle. Bing Yuxia said. You are not handsome at all. Moreover, those so-called successors of ancient kingdoms and great talent of great sects don't catch my eye. Most of them are outwardly solemn and virtuous, but inwardly they scheme and are full of deceit. Interesting. Li Qiye smiled and asked. Why should I cooperate with you? To be frank, the Ice Feather Palace is indeed formidable, and you are a powerful young woman with non-trivial strength. But cooperating with me is not so easy. To be blunt, I don't need you. If I wanted to summon someone, I could summon an old monster stronger than you. Bing Yuxia smiled and said. I know you are arrogant. You have done many arrogant things in the Central Great Territory. Bing Yuxia had sent people to inquire about Li Qiye's actions in the Central Great Territory. She had invested a lot of effort into this investigation. Bing Yuxia smiled faintly and said. But there is one thing others cannot give you, the palace guarding treasure of my Ice Feather Palace. If you want to enter the Void Gate, you might need this. It seems the old people and old women of the Ice Feather Palace value you highly, letting you carry that item. Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and said, slightly interesting. Fine, I will give you a share. You can follow me. Bing Yuxia looked at Li Qiye and asked. If we obtain the Void Gate, what will you share with me? Li Qiye waved his hand, interrupting Bing Yuxia. Little girl. Don't negotiate conditions with me. To be blunt, I have a much firmer grasp on whether the Void Gate exists than you do. Although the Ice Feather Palace's treasured artifact is formidable, the things I possess are no weaker than the Ice Feather Palace's. I am giving you a share because I find you to be a decent girl. Otherwise, wanting to share the Void Gate with me based on the Ice Feather Palace's item. Do you understand? Li Qiye spoke with immense overbearingness. Outsiders hearing this would think he was mad. The Ice Feather Palace is an emperor lineage immortal gate. One can imagine how formidable their palace guarding treasure is. Bing Yuxia was not angry at all. She looked at Li Qiye for a long time, then nodded and said, "Understood." It settled with a word. Slap. Bing Yuxia stiffened. She was slapped on the rear by Li Qiye again. Bing Yuxia jumped up, glaring angrily at Li Qiye. "Brat, what are you doing?" Li Qiye rubbed his hands. The residual feeling lingering. He said, "Girl, stop imitating the Ice Feather Immortal Emperor. You are a young lady, why cross-dress as a man?" Bing Yuxia was provoked, her face flushed red. And her chest heaved. She glared at Li Qiye in frustration. Bing Yuxia said, "Brat, stop acting like an old man. I'm older than you." Bing Yuxia finished speaking, turned around with resentment, and left. Li Qiye was caught between laughter and tears. This young lady was becoming more and more like the Ice Feather Immortal Emperor. Bing Yuxia left. Li Qiye was about to cultivate. But Qi Xiaodia's sisters rushed into the courtyard, looking panicked. Seeing Li Qiye, they were like seeing a savior, and hurriedly said, "It's bad. It's bad. Something big has happened." Seeing the young women flustered and panicked, Li Qiye smiled and said, "Young ladies, speak slowly. When the sky falls, there will be experts to hold it up. No time. Let's talk on the way." The young women grabbed Li Qiye without waiting for his agreement and quickly pulled him outside, looking extremely anxious. Li Qiye was pulled outside by the young women. He reluctantly hurried along. What major event happened? The young women, pulling Li Qiye along, said, "Your Highness Qi and Huang Fufeng have gone to the dragon severing stage." Dragon severing stage? Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and said, "They have some nerve. Do they think my words were just wind passing by their ears, that I was joking?" The young women quickly said, "Not long after you left, Huang Fufeng returned, bringing reinforcements. Huang Fufeng found a major backer." Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and asked, "Oh, what formidable figure is it?" A young woman replied, "Ghost Talisman Tree of the Luminary Ancient Kingdom, the junior disciple of Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu. A powerful genius from the Pinnacle World Academy." Mentioning Ghost Talisman Tree made the other young women's expressions grave. Compared to Huang Fufeng, Ghost Talisman Tree was much more terrifying. What made people fear was that Ghost Talisman Tree hailed from the Luminary Ancient Kingdom, a powerful ancient kingdom with 2 emperors. It was much more formidable than the demonic Tiger Roar sect. A young woman said indignantly. Huang Fufeng returned with a backer and spoke rudely. "In the end, Your Highness Qi was so angry that she made a bet with her, agreeing to a life-and-death duel on the dragon severing stage." The other young women also said angrily, "The Tiger Roar sect is too overbearing, bullying our Lion's Roar country because we have no one. The dragon severing stage is the place for students of the Heavenly Tao Academy to fight. Life-and-death duels. Ordinary sparring among Heavenly Tao Academy disciples usually stops before harm is done, to maintain harmony among peers. But if both parties wish to gamble their lives, they must ascend the dragon severing stage. Once a duel takes place there, one person must die." Huang Fufeng suffered a great loss at Li Qiye's hands, losing face completely in front of the great World Academy young women whom she deemed lowly. Huang Fufeng felt extremely humiliated. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. She couldn't swallow this anger and wanted to wash away the shame. But Huang Fufeng knew that her own cultivation was no match for the brat Li Qiye. Huang Fufeng thought of someone. Ghost Talisman Tree hailed from the 4 Ghosts clan but pledged allegiance to the Luminary Ancient Kingdom, becoming a disciple of the Luminary Ancient Kingdom. Ghost Talisman Tree possessed very high talent. Although not of the imperial family, he was highly valued by the Luminary Ancient Kingdom and was conferred the title of Marquis. Ghost Talisman Tree had very high talent. He was a 1-star true person. This was not the most terrifying thing about him. The most terrifying thing was that Ghost Talisman Tree had 5 fate palaces. When Ghost Talisman Tree was still in the Marquis realm, he opened 5 fate palaces, making him a 5-palace Marquis, a great Dao Marquis. One can imagine how frightening his talent was. After Ghost Talisman Tree gained 5 fate palaces, he entered the True Person realm. He was once a 1-star True Person Great Dao Marquis. Even a 5-star True Person would change color upon meeting him. Ghost Talisman Tree was an outsider who was conferred the title of Marquis by the colossal luminary ancient kingdom. This was enough to show that he was terrifyingly powerful. Ghost Talisman Tree was secretly fond of Huang Fufeng. This time, she suffered a great loss and sought Ghost Talisman Tree's help. He immediately agreed. Ghost Talisman Tree promised to personally eliminate the brat named Li Qiye and cleanse the shame for Huang Fufeng. Ghost Talisman Tree dared to agree not because he was arrogant, but because he possessed strength that commanded awe. At this moment, Qi Xiaodie and Huang Fufeng stood on the dragon severing stage. Their duel attracted many Heavenly Dao Academy students to watch. Not only students from the Great World Academy, the Pinnacle World Academy, but also the Leisure World Academy came in droves. Some geniuses and monstrous talents from the Sacred World Academy watched from afar. Although Qi Xiaodie had just entered the Great World Academy, she was a Marquis. She had only just stepped into the second tier of the Profound Fate realm, the second Marquis, or Imperial Marquis in mortal terms. But Qi Xiaodie hailed from the Lion's Roar country lineage. She relied on her own strength to reach the Imperial Marquis realm, which was very formidable. Li Qiye was already very famous in the Eastern 100 cities. Huang Fufeng was also not simple. She was a disciple of the Tiger Roar sect. Her ancestor was the Golden Sedan Great Demon, so she was also famous in the Eastern 100 cities. Today, the sudden life and death duel between the two proud daughters of heaven attracted many Eastern 100 cities students to watch. Especially the Great World Academy students, who rushed over as soon as they heard the news to cheer. The students from the Lion's Roar country came in the largest numbers, cheering for Qi Xiaodie. Seeing Ghost Talisman Tree supporting Huang Fufeng made the hearts of the Great World Academy students who came to cheer for their academy grow cold. A powerhouse like Ghost Talisman Tree supporting her, even if he didn't attack, created immense psychological pressure on everyone. Some successors of great sects in the Eastern 100 cities came forward to mediate. We are all talents of the Eastern 100 cities. Why fight life and death over ordinary minor matters? A prince saw Ghost Talisman Tree stepping forward to defend Huang Fufeng and knew Qi Xiaodie was at a disadvantage in this confrontation. The prince advised Qi Xiaodie, "Miss Qi, take a step back and the sky is wide. Just apologize to Huang Fufeng and admit your mistake, and everyone will let it go." Huang Fufeng sneered and said, "Apologize? Admit her mistake and that's it." Huang Fufeng spoke sharply. "Not so easy. If the Qi girl kneels down and kowtows to admit her mistake, perhaps I might spare her." Huang Fufeng's words made the prince, who was trying to mediate, sigh. Huang Fufeng's attitude was too excessive, but with Ghost Talisman Tree backing her, the prince couldn't say anything. At this time, for many of the younger generation in the Eastern 100 cities, stepping forward to speak up for Qi Xiaodie was already a sign of great loyalty, as few people dared to provoke the luminary ancient kingdom. Becoming enemies with the luminary ancient kingdom was foolish. Some monstrous geniuses from the Sacred World Academy came to watch. They only stood far away, observing impassively. To them, the geniuses of the Pinnacle World Academy were not worth their attention. At this moment, a lazy voice rang out. It seems someone treated my words as wind passing by their ears. Li Qiye was pulled to the dragon severing stage by the young women. Qi Xiaodie sighed with relief upon seeing Li Qiye arrive. Ghost Talisman Tree personally supporting Huang Fufeng created immense psychological pressure on Qi Xiaodie. She was not a genius like Li Xuangan, who possessed an overbearing, decisive killing aura, slaying gods and butchering demons. Li Qiye's support lightened Qi Xiaodie's heart. Ghost Talisman Tree would not be able to threaten her. Unconsciously, Qi Xiaodie relied heavily on Li Qiye. Seeing Li Qiye arrive, Wang Fufeng's expression was extremely ugly. She shouted, "That's him." Ghost Talisman Tree saw Li Qiye, and his eyes turned cold, filled with a chilling aura. He asked coldly, "Are you that Li Qiye?" Ghost Talisman Tree was quite handsome, but his energy was too heavy. Ghost Talisman Tree hailed from the Four Ghosts clan. The Four Ghosts clan is a lineage of the Ghost Immortal race. There are not many Ghost Immortal races in the Mortal Emperor world. The Four Ghosts clan is considered a powerful branch of the Ghost Immortal race in the Mortal Emperor world. Ghost Talisman Tree was highly ranked in the Pinnacle World Academy. He was once a great Dao Marquis 1-star true person. His strength could even threaten Hu Yu, the 5-star true person who entered the Sacred World Academy. Li Qiye was too lazy to look at Ghost Talisman Tree. He slowly said, "What if I am?" Ghost Talisman Tree's eyes were icy cold, waves of energy emanating, increasing his ghostly aura. The Ghost Immortal race has many species. Each Ghost Immortal race is different. Some Ghost Immortal races look no different from the human race, but purple blood flows through the bodies of the Ghost Immortal race. The blood of the Ghost Immortal race is much colder than that of the human race. Therefore, the Ghost Immortal race gives people a chilling feeling, which some call a ghostly aura. You came just in time. Ghost Talisman Tree was terrifyingly cold. His eyes revealed killing intent. He said gloomily, "Choose your own way to die." At this moment, Ghost Talisman Tree's ghostly aura from the Ghost Immortal race made people's hair stand on end. Furthermore, Ghost Talisman Tree was a powerful genius in the Pinnacle World Academy. The killing intent he revealed made many people tremble. Having once been a great Dao Marquis and a 1-star 5-palace true person, he was indeed a formidable opponent. Some geniuses of the Pinnacle World Academy secretly compared themselves to Ghost Talisman Tree, their hearts sinking. As for the students of the Great World Academy, they trembled the moment they saw Ghost Talisman Tree's terrifying aura, the chilling air rising from him, like a fierce ghost stepping out of the shadows. Li Qiye didn't even look at Ghost Talisman Tree. He commanded Qi Xiaodia, "Since you've ascended the dragon-severing stage, you must fight until death. Kill her. Don't embarrass me. Trust that you can unleash the power of your supreme art." Qi Xiaodia took a deep breath, took a step forward, and looked coldly at Wang Fufeng. Qi Xiaodia said, "If you want a final word, I'll give it to you." Wang Fufeng shouted loudly, "You ignorant wretch! Today, this princess will personally tear you apart." Wang Fufeng took out a treasured brazier. A phoenix cry rang out. The treasured brazier, like a divine phoenix, soared toward Qi Xiaodia. Qi Xiaodia let out a soft cry. She held her divine ring high, and blade intent surged like a river flowing downward. At this moment, Li Qiye slowly climbed onto the other dragon-severing stage. He pointed at Ghost Talisman Tree and slowly said, "Come up and face your death." Li Qiye ascended the dragon-severing stage and immediately challenged Ghost Talisman Tree, declaring that the latter should come up and die. Li Qiye's words made everyone present gasp, secretly thinking, "This brat is too arrogant." Ghost Talisman Tree's expression was extremely ugly. He hailed from a great clan, pledged allegiance to the luminary ancient kingdom, and could be called a genius. Who dared to look down on him like this? Some students from the Great World Academy and the Pinnacle World Academy, upon hearing Li Qiye's arrogant words, shook their heads and said, "This brat is too arrogant, too mad." A few observing students from the Sacred World Academy had their pupils constrict. This brat doesn't know his own limits. Ghost Talisman Tree's strength could have qualified him for the Sacred World Academy. He is at the Pinnacle World Academy simply out of some consideration. Ghost Talisman Tree's face was icy cold. His energy surged, making him look even more like a vengeful god. Ghost Talisman Tree stepped onto the dragon-severing stage. He looked at Li Qiye, revealing a chillingly sinister ghostly aura. Ghost Talisman Tree asked, "How do you want to die? Should I tear your limbs apart, or slice you into pieces with 1,000 cuts?" Li Qiye didn't even blink. He slowly said, You talk too much nonsense. If you're capable, act now. Don't just flap your tongue. The ghostly aura on Ghost Talisman Tree soared. An ignorant fool. Ghost Talisman Tree, who was initially radiating a ghostly aura, suddenly burst forth with streams of immortal light and faint emperor power. Boom. In an instant, Ghost Talisman Tree exploded. With power. His speed was incredibly fast, no one could see it clearly. Along with the sound, Ghost Talisman Tree struck Li Qiye and slammed him forcefully into the dragon severing stage. Bang. A deafening explosion rang out. Li Qiye was slammed hard into the dragon severing stage. The Dao patterns on the dragon severing stage flickered. The dragon severing stage was reinforced by invincible figures, inscribed with indelible laws. If Li Qiye hadn't been hit so hard, a tall mountain would have been shattered. Ghost Talisman Tree's single strike sent Li Qiye flying. He stood proudly. A firefly trying to compete with the moon. Streams of immortal light emanated from Ghost Talisman Tree. Emperor power surged like fire, inspiring awe. Seeing the immortal light on Ghost Talisman Tree, some knowledgeable students changed their expressions and cried out in shock. Luminary Pursuit of Immortals, the Luminary Immortal Emperor's Fate Art. Students from the Sacred World Academy also changed color, staring intently at the astonishing emperor power. Students from the Leisure World Academy and Great World Academy gasped. To them, emperor arts were impossibly distant. This brat doesn't know his own limits. It would be a miracle if he didn't die after being hit by an emperor art. A student from the Pinnacle World Academy said gloatingly. Senior brother Fushu's emperor art is peerless. It's more than enough to dominate. Although the Pinnacle World Academy student was just flattering Ghost Talisman Tree, many people's hearts pounded. A 5-palace 1-star true person cultivating an emperor art was a terrifying threat even to a 5-star true person. At this moment, a lazy voice rang out. A firefly. Are you talking about yourself? Li Qiye carefully stood up. He dusted off the dirt clinging to his body. Li Qiye said calmly. You've barely warmed up, yet you're boasting already. Seeing that Li Qiye was completely unharmed, Ghost Talisman Tree shouted in a deep voice. Kill. Ghost Talisman Tree charged. In that instant, his speed was beyond imagination, faster than lightning and light. He collided into Li Qiye's body in a flash. Such speed and collision made people's faces change color. This was purely speed, without change in moves, without profound Dao laws. Pure speed is sometimes more terrifying than cultivation arts. Ghost Talisman Tree cultivated the Luminary Ancient Kingdom's Emperor Art, Luminary Pursuit of Immortals, making his speed terrifyingly fast. Facing Ghost Talisman Tree's extremely fast collision, Li Qiye remained motionless. In a flash, Li Qiye's body trembled. Divine chains of law rattled, and the hell-suppressing divine physique awakened, suppressing the heaven and earth. Boom. A deafening explosion rang out. Ghost Talisman Tree collided heavily into Li Qiye's body, and blood splattered. But the person who was sent flying was not Li Qiye. The blood did not come from him, but from Ghost Talisman Tree. The hell-suppressing divine physique was revealed. Li Qiye was like a divine mountain from the 9 heavens. Unshakable, heavier than the ground, deeper than the 9 worlds. Ghost Talisman Tree's speed was fast, but colliding with Li Qiye was like hitting an unmoving sacred mountain. Therefore, he was sent flying, blood splattering. Ghost Talisman Tree was struck and sent flying. Immortal light shimmered all over his body. The immortal light was like divine wings. Ghost Talisman Tree tumbled through the air, carried by the immortal light. Li Qiye smiled and said, "Want to retreat safely?" Before Ghost Talisman Tree could land, Li Qiye took a step. In an instant, the Kuanpeng sword Emperor might surged. Li Qiye chased after Ghost Talisman Tree with one step. Li Qiye's foot, like the heavens, stomped down onto Ghost Talisman Tree's body. Ghost Talisman Tree's expression changed. Immortal light rained down. Ghost Talisman Tree shot up high, leaving a series of shadows. His speed was extremely fast. He used the luminary pursuit of immortals, fate, art to unleash his speed to the limit. In that instant, Ghost Talisman Tree evaded Li Qiye's foot and widened the distance. Li Qiye laughed and said, "Want to run?" The Kunpeng soared. The void changed. Space was no longer a distance. Ghost Talisman Tree's speed was so fast that even the monstrous geniuses of the Sacred World Academy praised it. But before Ghost Talisman Tree could escape, Li Qiye blocked his path. One foot, like a whip, lashed down fiercely. Ghost Talisman Tree was surprised. In a flash, he had no time to dodge. Ghost Talisman Tree instinctively took out a defensive treasure. His speed was fast, but Li Qiye was faster. Bang! The sound of bones cracking rang out. Ghost Talisman Tree was slammed hard into the dragon severing stage, blood splattering. Purple blood stained the dragon severing stage. The sound of bones cracking made the onlookers gasp, their hair standing on end. Hearing the sound of breaking bones made everyone feel as if their own bones were breaking. A monstrous genius from the Sacred World Academy had his pupils constrict, staring intently at the Kunpeng soaring above Li Qiye's head. His expression was solemn. The monstrous genius whispered, "The Kunpeng 6 transformations." Crack! Crack! The sound of bones rejoining. Ghost Talisman Tree stood up. The bones all over his body rattled. Purple blood soaked his clothes. The surrounding immortal light quickly healed Ghost Talisman Tree's broken bones. His injuries recovered extremely fast. Seeing Ghost Talisman Tree heal his injuries in a flash, the students of the Great World Academy and Pinnacle World Academy changed their expressions. The Emperor art is truly terrifying. The luminary pursuit of immortals. Such fast healing speed was equivalent to being unkillable. Ghost Talisman Tree roared loudly. "You little beast! You have angered me." Ghost Talisman Tree's body split. 4 Ghost Talisman Trees, exactly alike, appeared. The 4 Ghost Talisman Trees stood together, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Seeing 4 identical Ghost Talisman Trees standing together, a student whispered, "Is it an illusion?" A student opened his heavenly eye but couldn't distinguish which Ghost Talisman Tree was the real one. All 4 are real. A student from the Sacred World Academy shook his head and said, "This is not an illusion. This monstrous genius used his supreme heavenly eye and still couldn't distinguish the real from," startled and cried out. The 4 Phantoms Ghost. Legend says this is the ultimate profound principle of the ghost race. It can split into 4. Once transformed into 4 ghosts, their strength is exactly the same as the original body. The students gasped upon hearing this. 1 Ghost Talisman Tree was already terrifying. What did 4 Ghost Talisman Trees mean? Little beast, prepare to die. The 4 identical Ghost Talisman Trees surrounded Li Qiye. 5 Fate Palaces rose above their heads. Each Ghost Talisman Tree's Fate Palace transformed into a great domain. The 5 domains connected, resembling a boundless great nation. Rumble, 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 rumble. The great Tao resonated. A deafening explosion suddenly rang out. The 4 domains connected into one area, trapping Li Qiye. The 4 domains transformed into one nation. Within this nation, 4 colossal statues rose from the 4 domains. The faces of the statues were fierce and demonic. How can this be? 5 palaces can transform into a nation. The students were startled. A cultivator's fate palace is extremely important. 4 fate palaces can transform into a domain. And 8 fate palaces transform into a nation. The heaven and earth Tao dictates that 5 fate palaces can only transform into a domain. It's impossible to transform into a nation. But Ghost Talisman Tree somehow created a nation. It was unbelievable. A monstrous genius student said. This is called the 5 desolations, not a nation. The 4 Phantoms Ghost connecting the 4 great domains looks like one nation but is far inferior to the power of a true nation. This belongs to the 5 desolations. Rumble, 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 rumble. The four colossal ghost statues spewed forth heaven-soaring ghostly energy. In an instant, the four ghost statues, utilizing the power of Ghost Talisman Tree's 5 desolations, seemed to come alive, becoming 4 invincible evil ghosts. The spewed ghostly energy covered Li Qiye. The ghostly energy transformed into a sea of tidal waves. At this moment, the ghostly energy not only covered Li Qiye but also transformed into ghostly chains, attempting to bind him. Within the 5 desolations domain, no matter where Li Qiye ran, he would be submerged by the heaven-soaring ghostly energy. The sinister ghostly chains were like maggots on the back of his hand. Li Qiye could never escape. For cultivators, the most dreaded situation is an opponent using 4 palaces to transform into a domain or 8 palaces to transform into a nation. Once trapped in the opponent's absolute domain, one falls into the opponent's absolute territory. Within the absolute domain, the opponent has complete advantage. A single thought can change the heaven and earth, a single thought can overturn the 8 directions. It is extremely difficult to escape that situation. Often, falling into the opponent's absolute domain means accepting death. Li Qiye took a deep breath. Open. The hell-suppressing divine physique stomped the ground, causing deep cracks to appear in the 5 desolations domain. Ghost Talisman Tree's expression changed, but he still urged the 4 fierce ghost statues to spew forth endless ghostly Dao Law chains. The ghostly Dao Laws were like maggots on the back of the hand. The 4 ghost talisman trees shouted loudly. Even if your divine physique is invincible, you are still courting death. The 4 fierce ghosts grew bigger and stronger. The great domain of hundreds of millions of miles was already covered by ghostly energy. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of ghostly chains rang out. Li Qiye was caught off guard and bound by the terrifying ghostly energy. In that instant, the ghostly chains tightly bound Li Qiye. The 5 desolations domain. This was Ghost Talisman Tree's absolute domain. Here, Li Qiye was completely passive. More terrifyingly, the ghostly chains were endless. A moment of carelessness would result in being bound by the ghostly chains. Within the 5 desolations domain, Ghost Talisman Tree's voice rang out from high above. Today, I will tear your corpse apart, limb by limb. The 4 fierce ghosts pulled the thick ghostly chains, tightly binding Li Qiye. The 4 fierce ghosts pulled hard. Li Qiye's body rattled. If this continued, he would be torn into 5 pieces. Seeing Li Qiye's body rattling, his limbs about to be torn apart, many students gasped. Students from the Pinnacle World Academy and Sacred World Academy were startled. Falling into such a 5 desolations domain, no matter how talented one was, they wouldn't dare boast that they could escape from this absolute domain. In the absolute domain, Ghost Talisman Tree was like a god high above, capable of annihilating everything with a single thought. A student from the Pinnacle World Academy sneered and said, "Ha, the little beast is courting death." With senior brother Gui's 5 desolations domain unleashed, killing him is as easy as crushing an ant. On the other dragon-severing stage, Qi Xiaodia, fighting fiercely with Wang Fufeng, was startled to see Li Qiye trapped in the 5 desolations domain. She lost focus. Wang Fufeng seized the initiative, continuously forcing Qi Xiaodia backward. Ghost Talisman Tree's voice descended from the sky. "Little beast, die." His voice was majestic like a deity. Clang. The iron chains binding Li Qiye were pulled taut, about to tear him apart. Li Qiye was bound by the ghostly chains but showed no panic. He said very calmly, "How can such simple tricks bind me?" Li Qiye said indifferently, "Let me show you what the ultimate technique is." Clang. A heavy chain sound fell. A chain emerged from Li Qiye's chest, a sun solar fire chain. The chain bound Li Qiye. No matter how hard the 4 fierce ghosts pulled, they couldn't shake him, let alone tear him into 5 pieces. Li Qiye let out a long howl. Open. Buzz, 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 buzz. Solar suns rose behind Li Qiye, one after another. Finally, 9 suns soared high. The 9 suns shone brightly upon the heaven and earth. The 5 desolations domain transformed by the 4 ghost talisman trees 5 fate palaces was instantly enveloped by the 9 suns. Boom. In an instant, the ruthless solar fire poured down. An endless sea of fire submerged the 5 desolations domain. The 9 rings of solar fire surged endlessly, capable of incinerating the land of inherited lineages and burning down the skies of the 9 worlds. The power of the solar fire was such that whatever touched it would turn to ashes. The 9 suns locking the heavens art. A technique once hailed as the strongest in the cleansing incense ancient sect, and a fiercely famous technique throughout the ages. In this heaven and earth, it ranks among the top 5 techniques. Boom. The sea of fire burned through the 5 desolations domain. The 4 colossal fierce ghost statues were burned into ashes by the fire. A miserable scream rang out. Ah! The 5 desolations domain was burned, and ghost talisman tree howled tragically. The solar fire spread from the 5 desolations domain to ghost talisman tree's true body. When the 5 desolations domain was burned, his body turned to ash. In an instant, 3 of the 4 ghost talisman trees were burned away, leaving only the 1 true body. At this moment, ghost talisman tree's true body could not escape the burning fire. Everyone heard the explosive sound. Ghost talisman tree's body caught fire and became scorched black. Ah! The howling continued relentlessly. Ghost talisman tree's charred black body stiffened and fell onto the dragon severing stage. He was burned pitch black, surely dead. The 5 desolations domain was incinerated. The absolute domain shattered, and Li Qiye easily stepped out. 9 suns floated behind Li Qiye. The temperature was terrifyingly high. All the solar fire accumulated in the 9 suns, yet the temperature was still enough to burn everything. Looking at the 9 suns floating behind Li Qiye, it seemed as if one slight movement from him would incinerate this entire region. The students' expressions changed. If the 9 suns fell, they would find it hard to escape the calamity. The crowd's expressions were horrified. No one knew what kind of cultivation art this was. An old man appeared next to the dragon severing stage at some point. His expression changed as he said, "The 9 suns locking the heavens art." The old man muttered. Legend says it is the most invincible technique of the cleansing incense ancient sect, a supreme technique ranked in the top 3 in the world. Upon seeing the old man, the students were filled with awe. Academy head. Even the monstrous genius students were respectful. This old man was the academy head of the Sacred World Academy, unfathomably deep. No one knew how powerful he was. The Sacred World Academy head had cultivated countless powerhouses who dominated a region. Li Qiye looked indifferently at the charred black ghost talisman tree on the ground. Only a genuine 8 palaces forming a nation might have been able to trap me for a bit. The atmosphere was silent. Even the students from the Sacred World Academy had solemn expressions. Everyone acknowledged Ghost Talisman Tree's strength. With the 5 desolations domain unleashed, even some monstrous geniuses might not have been able to retreat safely. But today, Ghost Talisman Tree was burned to death by Li Qiye. Clop, clop, clop. The other dragon severing stage was still fiercely contested. Huangfu Feng had transformed into a colossal golden sedan, stretching her wings wide enough to cover the sky. Her sharp talons ripped through weapons and treasures. The golden sedan flew, sometimes beating its wings to stir the sky, sometimes tearing the clouds with its sharp talons, and sometimes piercing the ground with its iron beak. The golden sedan was extremely ferocious, like a savage prehistoric evil bird. Although Qi Xiaodia's eyes manifested incredibly astonishing weapons and treasures, she couldn't kill Huangfu Feng. Instead, she was continuously forced back. A moment ago, Qi Xiaodia was evenly matched with Huangfu Feng. But when Li Qiye was in trouble, she panicked. Huangfu Feng seized the initiative. When people saw Qi Xiaodia's divine pupil eyes manifesting weapons and treasures that looked real and possessed formidable power, many were very surprised. What kind of technique was that? Li Qiye shook his head and said, "Insufficient battle experience." Li Qiye commanded, You're only unleashing 20 to 30% of the divine pupil's power. You have sufficient strength, but insufficient technique. The manifestation is only the beginning. I suggest you let both weapons emerge. Yin and Yang must merge. Qi Xiaodia, cultivating the divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao, was instantly uplifted by Li Qiye's reminder. Qi Xiaodia, who was being continuously forced back by Huang Fufeng, suddenly took a deep breath and stopped. Her eyes shone brightly. The divine pupil radiated blinding golden light. Clang! Qi Xiaodia's left eye transformed into the moon, and her right eye became the sun. The sun and moon flew out, rushing fiercely toward Huang Fufeng. Huang Fufeng shouted loudly. You've reached your limit. Huang Fufeng transformed into the golden sedan. Golden light shone brightly. She closed her two wings like divine mountain gates. The two colossal golden gates shut tightly. Boom! A deafening explosion rang out. The sun and moon collided with the golden wings, only forcing Huang Fufeng to retreat a few steps. Seeing Huang Fufeng's powerful physique, many people were shaken. Truly worthy of the legendary golden sedan physique with the immortal official bloodline. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Whoosh! The wind roared fiercely. Huang Fufeng beat her wings, scattering the solar fire and moonlight. Huang Fufeng's wing beat shattered Qi Xiaodia's sun and moon. Huang Fufeng sneered contemptuously. A minor technique. Ah! Huang Fufeng stopped mid-sentence. Her body fell from above. Everyone clearly saw that Huang Fufeng's forehead was pierced. A very small blood hole appeared, with fresh blood slowly oozing out. A small dragon, representing the convergence of yin and yang, flew out from Qi Xiaodia's forehead. It was not a real dragon but a blade and a sword. The blade was a moon blade, and the sword was a sun sword. They converged, thin as silk, yet containing the boundless power of the supreme yin and supreme yang. Although the two treasures were very small, they destroyed everything. They were manifested by Qi Xiaodia's divine pupil. In an instant, the atmosphere was silent. Everyone stared blankly at the scene before them. Li Qiye killed Ghost Talisman Tree with a single strike. Qi Xiaodia killed Huang Fufeng. No one had expected this outcome. People thought that in this battle, Huang Fufeng would slay Qi Xiaodia and the unknown brat. Li Qiye had even less chance of contending with Ghost Talisman Tree. But the outcome was beyond everyone's expectations. After the silence, students from the Great World Academy cheered loudly. Excellent! Especially Qi Xiaodia's sisters, who clapped and cheered for her. The Great World Academy students were proud that both Qi Xiaodia and Li Qiye were students of the Great World Academy. Now, the two of them slaying the geniuses from the Sacred World Academy made the Great World Academy students very proud. Xikong Toutian, hidden in the crowd, finally remembered the name of Qi Xiaodia's cultivation art. He gasped. Xikong Toutian whispered. The divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao. Xikong Toutian thought of a legend, a very distant legend. The Sacred World Academy. Head exclaimed. The divine pupil heavenly soldier Dao. The Sacred World Academy head slowly said. One of the two supreme arts of the 100 Battles Divine Emperor. I never expected the descendant of the Qi family to fully inherit the supreme art of their ancestor today. Many students were shaken upon hearing the Sacred World Academy head's words. Even some monstrous geniuses from the Sacred World Academy changed their expressions. Everyone knew that the Qi family and the Lion's Roar School were merely a first-rate sect at the bottom rank, not worthy of the attention of Emperor lineage immortal gates. They never expected Qi family's ancestor to be the 100 Battles Divine Emperor, who was conferred the title of Divine Emperor. Hearing that title was enough to know how terrifying and invincible the Qi family ancestor was back then. While many people were stunned, the scorched black ghost talisman tree suddenly peeled off sheets of ash, as if transforming into a butterfly. Pop! An unbelievable thing happened. Ghost talisman tree crawled out from the pile of ashes. He was reborn within his own corpse. Immortal light enveloped his entire body. His skin was smooth and soft, as if he had just been born. How? How? How is that possible? Seeing Ghost Talisman Tree shed his old body and be reborn, everyone was extremely surprised. This was very strange. The Sacred World Academy head said with emotion. Formidable. The luminary pursuit of immortals is indeed worthy of being an emperor art created by the luminary immortal. Emperor. As long as a trace of divine sense remains, even if the body is destroyed and the true fate is annihilated, there is still a chance to start anew. Seeing the bizarre scene, the student's hair stood on end. Didn't cultivating the luminary pursuit of immortals mean it was difficult to kill the cultivator? Facing an opponent who refuses to die is terrifying. Li Qiye flickered, grabbing Ghost Talisman Tree. He clutched his neck with one hand. Ghost Talisman Tree had just been resurrected and was very weak. He was no match for Li Qiye. Killing a person is merely cutting off their head. The Sacred World Academy head spoke up to advise. What harm is there in sparing his life? Li Qiye lifted Ghost Talisman Tree with one hand, looking at him. Let me think about it. Li Qiye said calmly. Just now, someone asked me how I wanted to die. You. Facing Li Qiye's indifferent eyes, Ghost Talisman Tree shivered. The usually arrogant Ghost Talisman Tree was now genuinely afraid. Ghost Talisman Tree was truly terrified. Ghost Talisman Tree yelled threateningly. If you dare kill me, the luminary ancient kingdom will absolutely not spare you. Becoming enemies with my luminary ancient kingdom, there will be no place for you to live peacefully in the entire Eastern 100 cities. Ghost Talisman Tree was terrified. He quickly used his background to threaten Li Qiye. Ghost Talisman Tree's threat made Li Qiye laugh. Is that so? Li Qiye looked at the aggressively threatening Ghost Talisman Tree and said, the luminary ancient kingdom. What is that? Li Qiye tilted his head, pondering, and said, what exactly is the luminary ancient kingdom? Can it scare me? The Sacred World Academy head sighed. Seeing Li Qiye's demeanor, the old man immediately knew that Ghost Talisman Tree was doomed. No amount of pleading would save him. The Sacred World Academy head had lived through much and seen many people. How could he not recognize that Li Qiye was not afraid of threats? Ghost Talisman Tree shouted. The sages of my luminary ancient kingdom are all here. Even if you flee to the ends of the earth, you will surely die. Becoming enemies with my luminary ancient kingdom, with the 100 clans of my luminary ancient kingdom, we will crush your sect and exterminate your entire clan. The luminary ancient kingdom was the nation with the most races in the Eastern 100 cities. Few of the luminary ancient kingdom's disciples were human. It could be said that the luminary ancient kingdom was the ancient saint who accepted the most cultivators and subjects of various races in the Eastern 100 cities. The luminary ancient kingdom being called the nation of 100 clans had its reasons. The two immortal emperors of the luminary ancient kingdom were not human. The luminary immortal emperor was of the stone human race, and the demon subduing immortal emperor was of the heavenly demon race. That is why the luminary ancient kingdom was called the nation of 100 clans. Ghost Talisman Tree's life was in someone else's hands, yet he was still so arrogant. This annoyed many students, especially those from the Great World Academy. But thinking of luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu's presence, and the luminary ancient kingdom backing them, the students, despite their displeasure, could only sigh helplessly. At this critical moment, the wisest action was to spare Ghost Talisman Tree's life. After all, he had been defeated, and they had saved face. Sparing Ghost Talisman Tree's life and avoiding a life-and-death feud with the luminary ancient kingdom was the wisest choice. A student from the Great World Academy spoke up. Brotherly Dao. Harmony is better. A mere sparring session is enough. The Great World Academy students were offering Li Qiye a way out. Li Qiye brought glory to the Great World Academy. The Great World Academy. Students should be united at this moment. Everyone clearly saw that Li Qiye was in a difficult situation. If he killed Ghost Talisman Tree, he would be ruthlessly slain by luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu and incur a life-and-death feud with the luminary ancient kingdom. To provide Li Qiye with an honorable retreat, the Great World Academy students pleaded, hoping he and Xianxia could safely withdraw from this storm. Another Great World Academy student advised. That's right. Senior brother Li, a little sparring is enough. Why fight to the death? They were providing a ladder for Li Qiye, allowing him to save face. A student from the Pinnacle World Academy sneered. Haha, a bunch of lowly country bumpkins also know how to unite and find a way out. The Pinnacle World Academy students' words infuriated the Great World Academy students, but they forced themselves to endure and continued to advise Li Qiye. To the Great World Academy students, protecting Li Qiye and ensuring his safe withdrawal was the most important thing. Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu looked down at Li Qiye, saying condescendingly, "My patience is limited." Ghost Talisman Tree heard the Great World Academy students advising Li Qiye. Although his life was in Li Qiye's hands, he was no longer afraid. Ghost Talisman Tree sneered. Haha, only now are you looking for a way out. Too late. You little mongrel, you still have time to apologize and admit your mistake to me. Ghost Talisman Tree was so arrogant despite his life being in Li Qiye's hands. The Great World Academy students were furious. Just you. Just the luminary ancient kingdom. What are they to me? Li Qiye smiled leisurely and said, forget about luminary great talent. Even if your ancestors came. Personally, I would still kill you. Boom. The 9 suns rose. In an instant, solar fire covered the heaven and earth. Ghost Talisman Tree was incinerated. He shrieked. No. Ghost Talisman Tree couldn't believe it was happening. His senior brother was there, yet Li Qiye still killed him. The shrieking echoed. In an instant, Ghost Talisman Tree was burned to ash. The dust scattered from Li Qiye's hand, leaving not a single bone fragment. The 9 suns burned ruthlessly. The sky could be burned through, let alone a mere body. Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu came personally, backed by the luminary ancient kingdom, yet he couldn't save Ghost Talisman Tree. Right before everyone's eyes, Li Qiye casually burned Ghost Talisman Tree to ash. Such an arrogant action. Just a moment ago, Ghost Talisman Tree was arrogant and challenging, but compared to Li Qiye, he was nothing. Right before everyone's eyes. Li Qiye calmly burned Ghost Talisman Tree to ash, despite luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu's threatening display of power. Li Qiye completely disregarded luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu and the luminary ancient kingdom. This was a slap to the face of luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu and the luminary ancient kingdom. Many people were stunned. The Pinnacle World Academy students gasped. Courting death. Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu was enraged. His blood energy surged to the sky, and his divine light was like a sword. Luminary Great Talent Zhu Huangwu stretched out a hand. Divine chains of law rattled. The large hand crushed the void, suppressing a Saint King. Buzz, 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 buzz. The space froze for 10,000 miles. Immortal ice was like a sword. In that instant, colossal columns of profound ice pierced the ground. Each column of profound ice was like a divine sword, accompanied by heaven-soaring sword energy, blocking luminary great talents. Large hand. A clear voice rang out. What is this? Zhu Huangwu, is it only permissible for your luminary ancient kingdom to bully others, and not for others to fight back? A young woman fanned herself and walked over, a young lady cross-dressed as a man, with peerless grace, a distinguished gentleman who captured the hearts of many young women. Who else could it be but Bing Yuxia? Bing Yuxia suddenly appeared, blocking luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu. Her attire as a young man made the students look at each other in confusion. Bing Yuxia, the successor of the Ice Feather Palace. Although the Ice Feather Palace usually kept a low profile, no one dared to underestimate it. Li Qiye glanced at Bing Yuxia and said calmly, "Little girl, this matter doesn't concern you. Since someone sought trouble with me, I will personally break their bones." Bing Yuxia looked sideways at Li Qiye. She closed her fan and stepped onto the dragon severing stage, radiating Captivating grace. Bing Yuxia said. Who said I wanted to help you? I only want to challenge the luminary ancient kingdom. Miss Bing, think carefully. Luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu's eyes shot out terrifying divine might, his aura swallowing mountains and rivers. Even opponents had to admit Zhu Huangwu's excellent demeanor. Bing Yuxia held her fan and tapped her palm, saying leisurely, Zhu Huangwu, why do I need to think? Everyone says you cultivate the arts of two emperors. Today, I want to see how you merge and master them. Let's see if your emperor art is invincible or if my heavenly cut hand is superior. Bing Yuxia challenging luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu made everyone look at each other in confusion. But upon reflection, the Eastern 100 cities was not only limited to Zhu Huangwu, Xia, and Hu Yu who could be arrogant. In the Eastern 100 cities, these three were the most famous in terms of reputation, figures whose names made people's expressions change. Some believed that the future world stage belonged to luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu, Xia, and Hu Yu. In truth, Bing Yuxia, the successor of the Ice Feather Palace, was in no way inferior. Luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu and Xia always acted as if no one else existed in their eyes, challenging many geniuses and looking down on all heroes. Today, Bing Yuxia wanting to shatter their spirit was perfectly acceptable. As Bing Yuxia said, was it true that the Eastern 100 cities only allowed the luminary ancient kingdom to bully others, but not for others to fight back? The students of the Sacred World Academy were also silent. Although Bing Yuxia entered the Leisure World Academy, her strength and demeanor overshadowed many monstrous geniuses of the Sacred World Academy. Luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu did not fear the challenge. Good. I want to see how invincible the Ice Feather Palace's heavenly cut hand is. Luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu's face darkened. His blood energy soared like a true dragon. Luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu took a step. The stars shifted. The ground shook as if a divine beast was awakening. The formidable aura emanating from luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu made the students tremble. Rumble, 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 rumble. The heaven and earth swayed. At first, everyone thought luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu was so powerful that he caused the ground to shake. But the next second, the heaven and earth trembled more violently. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble. The ground cracked, and the dragon severing stage also cracked. A huge fissure appeared before everyone. In a flash, the sky collapsed and the earth split. Many students witnessed the terrifying scene. Within the Heavenly Tao Academy, many divine mountains cracked, and ancient temples and divine towers collapsed. What is happening? Many students were startled. They flew up high to avoid the collapsing sky and splitting earth. Clang! A metallic sound suddenly resonated throughout the heaven and earth. In the boundless territory of the Heavenly Tao Academy, countless immortal lights shot up high. In an instant, colossal great Tao laws, like the galaxy, locked the ground, suppressing the anomaly beneath the earth and preventing the heaven and earth from spinning out of control. The moment the sky collapsed and the earth split, the Supreme Tao Foundation and ancestral energy beneath the Heavenly Tao Academy suppressed the anomaly. What happened? Many students' faces changed, especially those from the Great World Academy and Leisure World Academy whose cultivation was relatively weak, feeling as if the apocalypse had arrived. A few students from the Sacred World Academy had profound eyes, seemingly understanding something. The Sacred World Academy head said in a deep voice, "Return, all of you. Return to your respective academies. Do not go out for the time being." Many students looked at the Sacred World Academy head, wanting to know what had happened. But the Academy head refused to say, ordering the students to return to their academies. Luminary great talent Zhu Huangwu stared intently at Bing Yuxia and Li Qiye, not making a move anymore. He turned and left. Bing Yuxia whispered, "It's about to happen." Bing Yuxia decisively left. The students felt uneasy. They left one after another, returning to their academies, hoping the academy head could explain what had happened. Li Qiye was about to return when the Sacred World Academy head approached and said, Young Master Li, the ancestor wants to see you. Li Qiye looked at the Sacred World Academy head and instructed Qi Xiaodia. You all go back first. I'll be back shortly. The Sacred World Academy head led Li Qiye deep inside the Heavenly Tao Academy, a place beyond the bounds of the 5 major academies, where only major figures were allowed. In an ancient hall, Li Qiye saw old Daoist Peng of the Long Life Academy. Do not be fooled by old Daoist Peng's disheveled appearance. He belonged to the ancestor level of the Heavenly Tao Academy. The Sacred World Academy head led Li Qiye to the place, bowed, and silently departed. Old Daoist Peng looked at Li Qiye, shook his head, and immediately said, I fear the domain god can no longer hold on. Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and asked, what do you mean by, can no longer hold on? Depleted lifespan or something else? Old Daoist Peng said with a serious expression. It's not depleted lifespan. Old Daoist Peng said with a solemn expression. The domain god is showing tendencies toward becoming a demon. Just now, it suddenly became restless. The various junior brothers barely managed to appease it by working together. The sudden collapse of the sky and splitting of the earth in the Heavenly Tao Academy earlier was due to the domain god's agitation. If it were to go mad, wouldn't it destroy the Heavenly Tao Academy or even the entire Eastern 100 cities? Li Qiye's pupils constricted. Your portal is about to open. The domain god sensed the void gate. If the little mud eel coming from the void gate was merely the myriad form true god's conjecture, the domain god truly emerged from the void gate. It is a pity that when the domain god left the void gate, it was very young. Besides the founder of the Heavenly Tao Academy who brought it out, the domain god itself could hardly clarify the relationship between itself and the void gate. Old Daoist Peng said. That's right. The domain god calculated that the portal would definitely open, and it has opened before. But in previous times, the domain god was not this agitated. The domain god couldn't control itself. It had no choice but to seal itself to prevent becoming a demon and destroying the Heavenly Tao Academy. Different from the usual. Perhaps it's an opportunity to understand your Heavenly Tao Academy's portal. Old Daoist Peng sighed softly. The junior brothers have discussed it. When the portal opens, we will welcome people from all over the world, allowing anyone to enter. Li Qiye chuckled and said. What's the matter? You also received news. Old Daoist Peng smiled and said. Nothing in the world is leak-proof. Some people are scheming against our Heavenly Tao Academy. This is no secret. If they come, our Heavenly Tao Academy will open its doors to welcome guests. Li Qiye rubbed his chin and said. I presume your Heavenly Tao Academy won't attack their juniors, right? Old Daoist Peng narrowed his eyes and said. That's hard to say. Old Daoist Peng smiled faintly. The Heavenly Tao Academy opening its doors to the world is enough. If some people are still not satisfied, then don't blame our Heavenly Tao Academy for raising the executioner's blade. The Heavenly Tao Academy was Northwest Benevolent Place. It was not meek at all. The Heavenly Tao Academy had stood firm until now, having gone through many bloody battles. Normally, the Heavenly Tao Academy called itself an academy, recruiting disciples from all over the world, teaching and answering questions. But when necessary, the Heavenly Tao Academy would cleanse the 8 directions with blood. Some people have already gathered a few Emperor artifacts and invited immortal Emperor true weapons. Old Daoist Peng laughed and said, haha, some people believe the Heavenly Tao Academy is about to face disaster, the apocalypse. Such a juicy piece of meat has countless people wanting a bite. When that time comes, it will be easy to enter but hard to leave. Li Qiye vaguely guessed. What do you plan to do? Some old men sensed the unusual atmosphere early. Disaster was coming. The Heavenly Tao Academy was waiting for death. Old Daoist Peng's eyes turned cold as he said. Based on my personal understanding, I don't hope you will enter the portal. If those coveting the Heavenly Tao Academy and wanting the portal refuse to negotiate, then within the portal will be a Shura hell. Old Daoist Peng warned Li Qiye beforehand. Do not be fooled by old Taoist Peng's unkempt appearance. He had been through many great storms. When he acts, he is absolutely ruthless and cold-blooded. You plan to massacre within the portal. Li Qiye understood the Heavenly Tao Academy's intention, to close the door and beat the dog. Li Qiye pondered for a moment, shook his head, and said, "Tropical drink rest after a thrilling chapter. The one who tied the knot must untie it. Your domain god is restless. To resolve this decisively, you need to search within the portal. Closing the door and beating the dog is also out of necessity." Old Taoist Peng shook his head and said, "What you say is reasonable, but the domain god's lifespan is at its end. Leaving would not be good for it, and the bloodstone seal would not help it. If the domain god enters the portal, the influence will be even greater. If it goes mad and becomes a demon, no one can help it. Staying in the ancestral land, the supreme divine spell left by the ancestor will suppress the domain god's inner demons. Your Heavenly Tao Academy succeeded because of the domain god, and also failed because of the domain god." Li Qiye shook his head and said, "You should have let the domain god return or pass away earlier. Continuously prolonging its life until today is not necessarily a good thing." Old Taoist Peng smiled bitterly and reminded Li Qiye, "Be prepared. A bloody battle is inevitable. Anyone caught in this storm will find it hard to withdraw unscathed." Li Qiye laughed and said calmly, "The person who cannot withdraw unscathed will not be me. But a bloody battle is indeed inevitable. Your Heavenly Tao Academy plans to catch them all in one net, slaughter 10,000 enemies, and overturn 10,000 nations." Li Qiye's words made old Taoist Peng's pupils constrict. Slaughter 10,000 enemies and overturn 10,000 nations. Old Taoist Peng stared intently at Li Qiye, smiling and saying, "What a fun joke. Our Heavenly Tao Academy always loves peace. How could we do such a thing? Old Taoist, stop pretending with me. I understand the foundation and history of your Heavenly Tao Academy better than you do. If the Heavenly Tao Academy loved peace, don't dream of standing firm until today." Li Qiye glanced at old Taoist Peng. "I won't waste words with you anymore. Either struggle hard once and be done with it, or wait for the domain god to go berserk and destroy the Heavenly Tao Academy. After that, the Heavenly Tao Academy will face those powerful enemies with sinister intentions. I know the Heavenly Tao Academy has a few old undying figures like you, but do you think you can withstand continuous waves of powerful attacks? Especially when the domain god goes berserk and becomes a demon. At that time, even if mother-in-law Mo intervenes, she might not be able to stabilize the berserk domain god. You must think carefully." Li Qiye's words made old Taoist Peng's heart tremble. Old Taoist Peng was an old undying figure who had lived for a very long time. Do not be fooled by his sloppy exterior. He possessed unfathomably deep cultivation. Old Taoist Peng was an ancestor of the Heavenly Tao Academy. Being exposed by Li Qiye, if it were anyone else, he would ignore it. But old Taoist Peng realized something. Old Taoist Peng took a deep breath. He stared intently at Li Qiye for a long time and then said, "This is no joke. Once we slaughter 10,000 enemies, the Heavenly Tao Academy will become enemies with the world." Li Qiye said calmly, "Is the Heavenly Tao Academy afraid of becoming enemies with the world? The Heavenly Tao Academy's situation is already like this. Even if you don't want to become enemies, the world will oppose you. Everyone covets the land the Heavenly Tao Academy occupies. Now that the Heavenly Tao Academy is facing disaster, everyone wants a piece of the pie. Who doesn't want a bite of this juicy meat? Compared to waiting for disaster to strike and then engaging in a great slaughter, it is better to act first, slaughter 10,000 enemies, and then deal with the aftermath." Old Taoist Peng slowly said, "Some emperor lineage ancient kingdoms are not easy to provoke. Especially their guardian existences." Old Taoist Peng was starting to be persuaded. Li Qiye smiled leisurely and said, "Have you ever seen those guardian existences wander throughout the world? Even if they are guardian existences, so what? I know the domain god cannot participate in the battle now. But by slaughtering 10,000 enemies first and then resolving the domain god issue. I don't need to say much about the next steps, do I? Old Taoist Peng was silent. Li Qiye smiled and said, I can help the Heavenly Tao Academy with this matter. 1. I want to borrow some things from the Heavenly Tao Academy to use. 2. I need to be compensated for my effort. The question is, do you have the authority to decide within the Heavenly Tao Academy? Do you believe in my ability? If you cannot decide on your own, then forget it. How will you do it? Old Taoist Peng asked in a deep voice, as long as your request is reasonable, everything can be negotiated. Old Taoist Peng agreed with Li Qiye's perspective. Striking first was better. Li Qiye narrowed his eyes and smiled brightly. That's more like it. Come, let's put on a show together. In the sunlight, Li Qiye's teeth were particularly bright. Old Taoist Peng looked at Li Qiye's white teeth and his sunny smile. For some reason, old Taoist Peng, an old undying figure who had lived for a very long time, felt a chill run down his spine. Old Taoist Peng felt as if he saw a fierce beast opening its bloody mouth to devour people. When Li Qiye returned to the Great World Academy, Xiaodia's sisters were still playing. Dozens of young women gathered together, creating a lively atmosphere, with melodious voices and soft pouting. The young women were all beautiful. Each with her own charm, a very refreshing sight. Li Qiye's return caused the laughing and joking young women to suddenly fall silent. Looking at Li Qiye, the young women stiffened. No one spoke. Before, Xiaodia's sisters were teasing Li Qiye. At that time, they felt he was just a cute, glib young boy. The young women thought Li Qiye was Xiaodia's cousin. A group of young women gathered and couldn't resist teasing Li Qiye. Now, their view of Li Qiye had changed. The young man who looked younger than them was much more terrifying than they imagined. Slaying Ghost Talisman. Tree, provoking Zhu Huangwu, how overbearing, how arrogant. They couldn't understand how the young man possessed such terrifying strength. Unconsciously, the young women revered the young man before them. They no longer dared to tease Li Qiye as before. Since returning, the young women had asked Xiaodia about Li Qiye's background, but she remained silent on the matter. Seeing Li Qiye return, the young women fell silent. Finally, the princess of the neighboring country said to Xiaodia, Little Dai, we'll head back first. Li Qiye didn't try to stop them. He smiled and said, Older sisters, take your time leaving. Come visit when you are free. The young women no longer dared to tease Li Qiye. They greeted him and immediately left. Xiaodia saw her sisters off. After the young women left, only the princess of the neighboring country remained. She was the sister closest to Xiaodia. Little Dai, tell me the truth. Is he truly not your fiancé? Xiaodia was between laughter and tears. She sighed inwardly, shook her head, and said, That's not the case. The princess whispered, Next time you visit my country, can you help me invite him to visit? Saying this, the princess's face flushed red. It seemed this carefree princess had a slight crush on Li Qiye. Xiaodia looked at the neighboring country's princess's expression and sighed inwardly. Xiaodia didn't want to discourage the princess. Regarding Li Qiye, Xiaodia didn't dare say she fully understood him, but she knew him briefly. She knew the princess's wish would not come true. Was Bingxia not formidable? In terms of talent, background, and beauty, she surpassed them all, yet Li Qiye didn't even care about Bingxia, let alone them. Xiaodia didn't want to cruelly shatter the princess's beautiful dream. She gently nodded and said, If there is an opportunity to visit your country, I will definitely call him. Thank you for listening to the story on KTN Storyverse. Please like and subscribe to support the channel.